Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, authors, successful entrepreneurs, spiritual teachers, exceptional people who will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to get them as soon as they are released. Welcome to episode 197. I'm very excited today to share with you my appearance on Victoria Rader's podcast, All About the Voice. Victoria guided the conversation beautifully around authenticity, my journey of personal development, the leaps of faith I took, following the voice, and I also discussed about the top 3 benefits of having a podcast. It was a very enjoyable conversation, and please check out Victoria's podcast. I will put the links in the show notes. So here is myself at All About the Voice with Victoria Rader podcast. I hope you enjoy.
All right, and here with me is a new friend, but I have a feeling a soul I have known for a very long time, Agi Keramidas. Agi, welcome to All About the Voice podcast.
It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Now, Agi, your podcast, you kind of come through as a podcaster, knowledge broker. I will want to dig into both of these concepts, but your podcast is called Personal Development Mastery. How did you come up with that name and that podcast?
The name, personal development has been my big calling and my passion since about 2016, when I went through a midlife crisis of some kind, which urged me to go into personal development. I realized very quickly it became a passion of mine, and the title Mastery of the podcast, I think it came as an inspiration. I was doing this kind of brain dumping and finding out ideas, but that it popped out to me. And I realized many months after I had started the podcast that inadvertently, by naming it Personal Development Mastery, I had set the bar very high for myself without even knowing it. So then I needed to actually rise up to the mastery bit of it. So love it.
How do you define somebody to be a master?
That's a great question, and I will not even go near that title for myself. And for me, mastery is a journey. It's not about arriving somewhere and then you can say, I have mastered that. I will leave that completely vague, and for me, mastery is the art of perfecting your craft, or whatever it is, in this case personal development. So it's ongoing. Yes.
And I find that so many of us are woken up to that inner calling through a crisis we go through. And you've mentioned a midlife crisis. Take us through that journey to the degree that you feel comfortable sharing.
Sure. So it was, I had just finished a master's degree. So my background is in dentistry. I'm a dentist by profession. So I had finished a master's degree, and instead of feeling very motivated to pursue that knowledge that I had acquired, I felt very unsatisfied and empty and not really wanting to do any of that. And that really led me to some kind of exploration, because it didn't make sense. And that led me to some personal development, and that led me to a Tony Robbins event, really, where I had a big click, a big shift. And then from a very shy and introvert person, which I had been all my life, I won't speak out to people because I was shy or reserved. I turned very, very quickly to I went into public speaking. I started the podcast, so it was a very quick change in my whole behavior, really. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or if I'm taking it to a different direction. So I'll take a pause here.
We're going in the direction that we're supposed to be going. So that I'm convinced of.
Okay.
So going from that almost from shy to shine moment, you've gone from shy to shine.
Yeah.
What was the shift?
The shift was... It happened actually during the event with Tony Robbins. The shift was realizing a limiting belief that I had in the background that was running, playing like a voice inside my head without me even realizing it all my life. And it was telling me that people do not care of what you have to say. What you have to say is not interesting to anyone. So that would... I don't know where I picked that from, my childhood at some point, or how it formed like that. But it was only then when I realized that, oh my God, this is what is happening or what has happened. And then the shift was the understanding, the awakening to that fact that this is not who I am. All my life I thought that's who I am. I'm a closed person. I'm a shy. I'm an introvert. But I realized that this was not who I was. It was merely a behavior that I was having based on the beliefs. And then, of course, when you start your personal development journey, you go deeper and learn about all these things. So that was the shift that change things, and then massive action to implement, because it doesn't
Tony's
just
big
here.
Tony's big on massive action. I understand that. So
yes.
Well, but I'm fascinated by this journey of a shy man who's being got master's degree, ironically, in we talk about mastery and master. So, it's too late for you to say you're not a master. You have a degree to show for it.
You are right. Yes.
But so I want to go back to you being a little child. And What were your dreams? What did you dream of becoming? What did you want to be?
It's funny now that you're asking me. There were two things. One was completely a fantasy, which was to be a pilot, an airplane pilot, which I think I just picked up from someone else, a friend of mine, and I carried on for a few years. But what I realized that I did have a big desire when I was a teenager rather than a child was acting. That obviously never happened because I was persuaded by my parents to go to university and become a dentist. But that was something that I had inside of me, and I didn't have the opportunity to pursue it. Sometimes I think that doing the podcasting now is a different way of myself expressing. So I'm not on a stage, but playing in a theater, but it is a different stage of speaking.
It's beautiful. I've heard just recently, actually, John Assaraf talk about our identity has to match our destiny in order for us to fulfill it. And when we go from, I guess, an identity that's been conditioned for us by other people to hearing the call of the destiny, and in your case, to share the light that is in you and to bring on people of significant presence and influence in the world and to shine their wisdom, you've shifted, you've upgraded your identity in a way to be more aligned with your destiny. And so that's what an actor does. In my mind, that's what a great actor does. They become the identity of the role they have to play. And so you are acting your identity aligned with your destiny. Your podcast, my understanding, is in top 2 podcasts in 2% of podcasts in Great Britain. Incredibly, incredibly successful. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. What are some of the top lessons you have learned from doing it?
Where do I start? I'm at episode 185 now, so it's been a very fruitful journey. As you told me earlier on, I wasn't planning on any of this. It happened. A very big learning that it came to mind the moment you asked the question, so I will share it. I'm not sure if that. I'm sure there is a reason for that. I was interviewing someone who could channel knowledge from the stream, and I had the opportunity to have a live just to ask a couple of questions. And one big thing that I learned, because I asked, so how could I share my message, like with the podcast, to more people? Which was that question came to me. And the answer I got back was that the amount, the number, the quantity of the people that get the message is irrelevant. He actually called it's very 3D. Rather than that, it is the alignment of the people who are ready to receive the message, which is the most important thing. And that actually, it made such a big impression when I heard that maybe 6-7 months ago. I kind of stopped looking so much at how my podcasting numbers are going, and rather focusing on expressing myself in the way that will present a coherent message, or my message, or my guest's message, that will make an impact, make a difference really to the person that listens to it. And if that is one person, that's amazing, because that one person might have an impact that will impact billions. So it was a very big realization that came to me when I had that interview on the podcast. I'm picking just one, which is the biggest highlight. But apart from that, I had so many learnings. I mean, we could talk for hours about that. I'm sure you have as well.
But that message is very aligned to, I think, to the core of who I am. Years ago, I had one of the businesses with my brother, actually. We had, I do a lot of spiritual training, and he's done physical training. And we had luxury apartments where he conducted trainings with other trainers for the luxury apartments. And I would come in and I would conduct stress release training, spiritual guide training, all of those things. And so they've booked an event for 50 people on stress release and alignment, of peaceful alignment. And I was very excited. I prepared. I had brochures, everything, prepared to our presentation. Came into the building, and there were, 2 rows of 25 seats, and there was one person sitting in the front of me. And I stood there, and this is about 7 years ago now, I guess. And I stood there and I looked at her, and the spirit immediately came through me. It was very clear that you're not looking at a person, you're looking at the universe. You either believe in oneness or you don't. And so right now is your chance to walk the walk. And till this day, I've spoken to thousands of people. Till this day, I don't know that there was a more impactful event in my life to be presenting to one, knowing that she is the universe. So I applaud you, and we're very aligned. And how about struggles? Agi, what's been the biggest struggle? And for somebody who's new on this journey, like me, or somebody who's just thinking of starting a podcast, what are possible setbacks and struggles to be looking for to learn from you?
For me, the biggest one, because I started doing everything on my own. I wanted to learn it. I had some free time at 3+ years ago when I started. So the struggle was learning everything in a way that I present a quality podcast, which this podcast I have now is my second one. So I had to learn many things. So the struggle was really keeping learning, which took time. And at some point in early 2020, when the lockdowns happened and I was stuck at home, I went from 1 episode a week to 2, which I have been doing since then, 2 episodes a week. So the struggle was finding the time really to do 2 episodes a week But, I found the time because I felt it was asked of me to do so, to go to 2 episodes a week. And the moment I did it, and now I'm just reflecting back while we're speaking, the moment I did it, or very soon afterwards, the moment I went from 1 episode a week to 2 episodes a week, podcasting changed from something I was very passionate about to something that is my mission, that now I have really the mission to pass the message to these people and in my way, contribute to the shift in human consciousness in the way that I can, with my own piece of the painting, to paint it as well as I can. That's how it felt to me. So I know you asked me about a challenge, and I probably went in a different direction. But yeah, from challenges come the biggest realizations, I think. I just wanted to take a short break from this episode and let you know about a new project I'm very excited and passionate about. For me, having a podcast made a tremendous difference in my life's journey, and I know the kind of impact it can have. And that's why I'm so excited about this new project, helping coaches who are ready to reach a global audience and increase their impact by launching and scaling their own top quality podcast, even if they aren't tech savvy and are limited on time. So if you've thought about having your own podcast, but you don't want to go through the time-consuming learning processes of how to create and launch a podcast, of how to record, edit, host, syndicate, and so on, then I got a solution for you. A solution that takes away all the complexity and allows you to only concentrate on creating quality content and nothing else. Go to my website, 𝗁𝗁𝗺𝗃 to find out more about my service and to get your copy of my free guide about creating and launching your podcast. Alright, let's jump back to the episode.
I trust that fully. One thing you've said so beautiful, you said, I felt it was asked of me. And that's, of course, for me, that's the whole point of the whole podcast, that it's all about the voice,
Yes.
So how, when you say that it was asked of you, what was the feeling? And I know that you've been following that feeling through your life. Talk to me a little bit about the journey of following that it's been asked of me kind of a voice.
Yes, it's a beautiful topic, and the biggest moment, or maybe the first real big moment that I was very much aware of it, was when I left my life in Greece. I was about 35 years old at that time, and I felt a void inside of me. On the outside, my life seemed to be really well. I had my dental practice. I was engaged. There was, friends, but I was feeling really empty. And I had this, I will call it, well, if you say the voice, I used to call it my instinct, or some feeling that was calling me to England. And I had no idea why, but I was always, even from a kid, I was fascinated about anything English. So I started having that more and more, and feeling it and daydreaming about my life there. And I realized that the only thing that draws me towards there is something internal, something instinctive. It's not, I don't know anyone there. I have nothing there. My life is here. Everything is here. So, but I took the big leap because it really felt so good. And my life in Greece it didn't seem like I would ever have the kind of life that I wanted, even though I didn't know what that was. But I knew very, very well that what I was living there was not right. I could feel it rather than explain it. And I'm sure that anyone who has had a similar experience knows very well that feeling. And I understood it as a guidance. And when I moved to the UK, after a year after I made my decision and my arrangements, I realized that a little bit later on that I was helped. So things happened. I met the right people. I had the opportunity, I'm giving an example, to rent a flat after a week of being in the country, which you normally need to have a credit history and things like that. So it was an extremely fortunate situation, and things like that happened like a reward, if you wish, for choosing or for selecting to go with what was asked of me. That's how it's funny, I haven't spoken about this in such a way, so thank you for your question, the way you asked it.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey, and I as you were talking, yes, your ancestors, one of your deep ancestors' quote came in from Seneca that said that destiny, how does it go? Willing, destiny guides them. Unwilling, destiny drags them.
Yes.
And so I think once we're willing, and I call it, once we're aware and we're aligned and we take action, then there is the abundance that comes. And in this case, it's the law of serendipity. It's the universal law of serendipity where things just work out. And then sometimes our inner fears of non-deserving it kick in and we sabotage the good and we go back to learning the slow way, because heaven forbid things will be aligned for us. So yes, it's a beautiful journey. Now, I know that usually things make more sense looking back. Looking back now, does the move to England have that practical meaning in addition to the spiritual call?
Of course, 100%. It allowed me so many. Well, the fact that we're having this conversation here now, the fact that I changed my speaking language, my everyday language, from Greek to English, and then I had the opportunity to find my voice. I call it like that sometimes, from shy to public speaking, and being able to connect with, have all these conversations and speak with some amazing people on my podcast and elsewhere at events and things like that. This, I can't see how any of that might have happened if I was still living in my hometown, doing the job that my mom was doing before me. So for me, it felt like not what was my calling. Again, I changed a little bit the subject of your question. So
you have not. You have beautifully guided us to exactly where we have to be going. So this is the beauty of it all. So the question I guess I have is that if you were to give me top 3 benefits of having a podcast, because I know this is clearly your passion. This has become a calling and unfolding into your really destiny. Like, we're using big words, but that's what I see unfolding in front of me. This is what's happening. So what have been the 3 benefits you've gotten from it?
The first one that comes to mind is the ability to express myself. Because before, 3 years ago, even, when I was doing some public speaking, you don't speak all the time. So with podcasting, I have really listened to myself speaking and expressing or articulating some thoughts that otherwise I wouldn't have. And that's very valuable because you understand better who you are. That's one. You said 3, didn't you? I have a very massive one for me, and I think with people that do interview style podcasts like yourself, I'm sure you will find something familiar, is the people that I had the opportunity to speak with, which There were times initially when I started my podcast, I was speaking with many coaches because of personal development and Tony Robbins environment and so on. And I felt like I was having a one-to-one coaching session with a different person every week. So it felt very beneficial for me, apart from the listener that would get the conversation, because I was asking the questions I wanted to find out first of all. So yeah, some amazing people that I wouldn't have the opportunity to speak otherwise. Even for half an hour, I had the blessing to speak with Brian Tracy about a month ago, and who would have thought that I certainly would have believed if anyone told me a few years ago that that's what I would be doing. So for me, it really served as the best, or a very I'm trying to find the right word. Anyway, the vehicle for my evolution, shall we say. So that's two, and you said you want another one, a third one.
It'll come, and we'll all benefit from it. I'm going to get a sip of water while you're thinking.
Sure. You know, yes, the third one is that now that I think about it, it's clear that this became from a hobby or something that I was curious about and intrigued about. It became a passion. It became a mission. At least for now, this feels like really my mission for the time being. And I think that, finding one's mission or having the feeling that this is the right place, the right time for me, what I'm doing right now, I think that's a tremendous benefit, isn't it? To be able to realize that.
Well, I think what I would like for both of us realize the power of your three very intuitive answers, because the first one was expressing yourself, which is speaking your truth, and then evolving through interaction into fulfilling your mission. That, my friend, is a definition of personal mastery, if anybody wanted to come up with one. So now we've defined your podcast through the 3 steps of development, because until you're authentic, you have to live your truth. As you live your truth, you empower others to do the same, and that opens your freedom to fulfill your mission and theirs. So that's to me, the beauty to me is that the chance that I get to interview people like you that are unconsciously competent, and the joy that I have is to just let them peek into their unconscious competence and become consciously competent, and say, oh, that's why I'm doing this podcast, because these are the 3 top benefits I'm getting. It's amazing. It's just amazing to me.
It's amazing you've asked like that, because I hadn't, generally these questions, what are the 3 most important or the most important, are very difficult to answer, because it's not just 3 or certainly not just one. So, but yes, you allowed me the opportunity to answer intuitively, as you said, which I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Well, now I have these 3 questions that I usually ask. And if you've listened, as you've mentioned, to one of the episodes, but they always come out a little bit different. But I know that my family here that listens is I have the feedback. They will listen through any interview to get to the last 3. I'm like, what do you mean any interview? Is that? Anyway, so I want you to kind of think of your life. And I know that every person who is appearing to be successful, has had their fair share of challenges and maybe dark moments in their life. And so if we had some kind of this magic wand right now for you to go back to any point in your life where you probably need encouragement the most, you need support the most, I want you to tell me where your mind is taking you, what moment is that? And more importantly, Agi today, what would you tell that Agi that needed the support?
I think in more important than which period of my life, I mean, that period we talked about earlier about me leaving my home country, Greece, to move to the UK. That's a great example of a situation I could go back. But with others as well, what I would say, I think it's the same that I would say. It applies to all of them. And that is that, don't worry, have faith. It's going to be all right. This too shall pass. When you feel it inside you and you do it, it's going to be all right. It's going to be exactly as it's meant to be. Just have trust and follow the path. I think it would be this kind of words of reassurance that there is a bigger picture out there, and it's going to be all right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Just a couple of days ago, I was reading an article by Sean Dean, and I've never read anything by him. And there was this quote that he said that the doubt is the breeding ground for spiritual hurricanes. And that and your antidote of just this quiet faith and that this too shall pass. I think it's beautiful. It'll be all right. So, all right. Now we're going to take you forward in future, and Agi from 20 years from today comes and sits right by you there. And what does he have to tell you? What do you need to hear today from him?
I think it would be, and forgive me if you get the background noise at the same time right now, I think it would be similar to what I just said in a way, because it's one thing to say it's going to be all right, and there is a different level when things go difficult to actually embody it 100% and live it. So there is, an element of doubt sometimes that is this really what is right? And so that piece of advice, that trust that it's going to be all right, provided that you're doing what feels in your heart that it is the right thing to do. Keep doing it and don't worry about the details. Of course, work hard, but make the effort. Don't that we have a phrase it's in Greek from the gods of Olympus. So there was a phrase that you have to the gods will help you, but you first need to take the action yourself. So it was something like that. Someone's cart wheel broke, and he was waiting for the gods to help him move on with his journey. And the god said, we will help you, but lift your arms and take the wheel and start fixing it, and then we will help you. So a similar thing then. It's going to be all right. It's going to be awesome.
And I love that. It's going to be all right. Follow your heart, though, right? Follow your heart. That did not get missed on me. That's a powerful advice. And finally, the third thing, if there was one thing on one phrase or one teaching, one story, whatever it is that you would like to share by which the listeners will remember you by, what would be your impact for our family if there was only one thing you could convey?
When you say one thing, how long can this thing be?
Hey, we can go on Einsteinian time,
I have a phrase that I always end my own podcast, which came out of my own transformation, which is stand out, don't fit in. And by that, I mean stand out, I mean be authentic, be true to who you are. It doesn't mean stand out in any other way, but in a way that show the world who you are. And if that is different, and it is different because we each are unique, don't be afraid to show it. Don't try to fit in. We are so much conditioned to fit into patterns and behaviors and actions that it's not who we are, and doing them for the wrong reasons, to fit in, to conform, it's yeah, it doesn't serve anyone. So that's really how I explain my phrase, stand out, don't fit in. And I would, yeah, if it was like an epilogue or a phrase, I would use that simple phrase, which I love using.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for being authentic and for standing out, for living what you preach. It's been wonderful to have you.
Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you have, please share this episode with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to know more about what I do, visit my website 𝗁𝗁𝗺𝗏𝗏𝗏. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,